Hello students, today's topic is Holzer method. Okay, so continuing with our discussion on multi-degree of freedom system, there are a number of methods available for finding the natural frequency of multi-degree of freedom system. The various methods are Rayleigh's method, Stodola method, Holzer method, Dunkerley method or Dunkerley formula, Lagrange's method. So there are various methods for finding the natural frequency. In today's lecture we are going to see the Holzer method of finding the natural frequency of multi-degree of freedom system. Now first we will see some of the key features or what is the theory behind the Holzer method, that we will see, and then we will see the example of Holzer method. Okay, so what are the key features of Holzer method? So first feature, so I have a list down the various features of Holzer method, so we will go one by one. So first method is to find the natural frequency or frequencies. It is useful for finding the natural frequencies of vibrating system. Okay, so Holzer method is basically used for finding the natural frequencies of vibrating system. Like we have seen in the previous lectures that in case of multi-degrees of freedom system there are number of masses are there, and each mass has their own natural frequency, and finding the natural frequency of a multi-degree of freedom system is bit tiresome. It is a bit cumbersome, and various scientists have evolved various mathematical techniques for finding the natural frequencies of multi-degree of freedom system, and one of the method is the Holzer method. Okay, so Holzer method is basically used for finding the natural frequencies of a multi-degree freedom system. Okay, so that is the first feature. Second feature, it is an approximate method. So whether it is a Holzer method or a Stodola method or a Dunkerley method or Rayleigh's method, all these are based on a lot of assumptions, and that is why that makes these methods are approximate method. It is not an actual, it doesn't give the actual natural frequency. It will give the approximate natural frequency somewhere to the actual values. It doesn't give the actual natural frequency. So it is an approximate method. It involves a lot of trials and error stages, and we converge to certain values which will be close to the actual natural frequencies of a multi-degree freedom system. So that is why this Holzer method is an approximate method. It doesn't give you actual correct natural frequencies. It will give close to the actual values, and that is why it makes it it is an approximate method. Then the third point, it is an iterative method. So it is an iterative method. So we need to carry out various iterations to find out the natural frequencies or to converge to the natural frequencies. Okay, so it is an iterative method. We need to carry out a lot of iterations. We need to assume something, and we need to carry out the iterations. We are going to see how these iterations are carried out, but let me just tell you one thing, that it is an iterative method. The next point is this method can be applied to torsional and linear spring mass system. So it is not only applied to a linear spring mass system, but it is also applied to torsional system. Okay, so torsional system and linear spring mass system. So here I have drawn two cases. This first case is a spring mass system. So this is a spring mass system. So mass, spring, mass, spring. So there are series of springs and masses. So this multi-degree of freedom system, or rather you can say a 3-degree of freedom system, is an example of spring mass system, and this Holzer method is applicable to spring mass system as well as to the torsional system. Okay, so here you can see that a shaft is there and 3 rotors are mounted, and J1, that is polar moment of inertia of the first mass is J1, polar moment of inertia of second mass is J2, and this is J3, and the angular displacement of the first mass is θ1, that of second mass or second rotor is θ2 and θ3, and the stiffness of the shaft between the first rotor and second rotor is considered as KT1. So T stands for torsional here, so it is a torsional stiffness, so KT1, and the torsional stiffness of this shaft is KT2. So this is a torsional system, and this Holzer method is applicable to spring mass system as well as torsional system. Okay, but as far as textbooks are concerned or the literature available on the Holzer method is concerned, they says that basically this Holzer method is developed. The invention of the Holzer method is basically to solve the torsional system problems. Okay, and later on it is applied to spring mass system as well. So we can apply this system to torsional system as well as spring mass system, but basically it is invented for the torsional system. Okay, so whenever the question comes that whether the Holzer system is applicable to torsional system or spring mass system or both, then your answer would be both. You can apply it to the spring mass system as well as to the torsional system. Okay, and the last one is it gives the principle. In which principle this Holzer method works? So the principle is sum of inertia torques / forces is equal to 0. So this Holzer method works on the principle that the sum of the inertia forces or inertia torques. Now inertia forces means the term which is associated with spring mass system, and inertia torque is something associated with the torsional system. So this Holzer method works on the principle that the inertia forces or inertia torque, sum of inertia forces and sum of inertia torque is equal to 0. Okay. Now the inertia forces in case of spring mass system is given as mi xi omega square. We know that in case of spring mass system, the inertia forces is mass into acceleration, and acceleration means 2 times derivative of this displacement, so it gives mi xi omega square. Okay, so m1 x1 omega square is the inertia force of the first mass, m2 x2 omega square is the inertia force of the second mass, and m3 x3 omega square is the inertia force of the third mass. So in generalized way it is written as mi xi omega square. So this is the inertia force associated with the spring mass system. Similarly, the inertia torque associated with the 3 rotors are given as we know that what is the difference between a spring mass system and torsional system. In a torsional system, the masses are replaced by polar moment of inertia, and x, that is displacement, is replaced with the angular displacement theta. So the inertia force in case of torsional system is given as ji theta I omega square. Okay, and this Holzer method, it works on the principle that the summation of mi xi omega square is equal to 0, where I is equal to 1 to n. So n is the number of degrees of freedom in the spring mass system. So this is the principle on which Holzer method works as far as spring mass system is concerned, and in torsional system it is I equal to 1 to n. Sorry, it is ji theta I omega square is equal to 0. Okay. So the summation of the inertia forces or inertia torque is equal to 0 is the principle of Holzer method. Now how this principle can be applied, that we are going to see. Now first we'll see the torsional system. We'll apply the Holzer method to the torsional system. As far as this lecture is concerned, we are seeing the torsional system, and in the next video or in the next lecture we will apply the Holzer method to the spring mass system. So first we'll apply this Holzer method to the torsional system. Okay. So here we will apply this Holzer method to the torsional system first. Okay. Now here I have drawn one torsional system. So a shaft is there and three rotors, rotor 1, rotor 2 and rotor 3 are there on the shaft. The polar moment of inertia of the rotor 1 is denoted by J1. The angular displacement is represented by theta 1. Similarly, the polar moment of inertia of rotor 2 is J2, theta 2, J3 and theta 3. So these are the polar moment of inertias and the angular displacements of the three rotors. Then the stiffness, the torsional stiffness of the shaft between rotor 1 and rotor 2 is given as KT1. So here T stands for the torsion. And the torsional stiffness of rotor 2 and rotor 3 is denoted as KT2. Okay. Now here we have assumed that at any instant of time the theta 1, angular displacement of rotor 1 is less than theta 2 is less than theta 3. So theta 3 is highest angular displacement, then theta 2 and then theta 1. So this is our assumption. Now we will apply, we will make the equation of motions over here. So for the first rotor, so the inertia torque is given by J1 theta 1 double dot is equal to. Now here this theta 2 is greater than theta 1, so the stiffness force will be in this direction. So that is why this is KT1 theta 2 minus theta 1. Okay, so this is the equation of motion. So we will bring this on to the other side, or rather we will keep it as it is. So this is equation number 1. Okay. Similarly, if you apply rotor 2, so if you find the equation of motion of rotor 2, then this is J2 theta 2 double dot is equal to. Now here this stiffness force will act in this direction, so it will be minus KT1 theta 2 minus theta 1, and one force will act in this direction, so it will be plus sign. Here also there are clockwise and anti-clockwise. Accordingly, you need to select the negative and positive signs. So this is KT2 in bracket theta 3 minus theta 2. And then we'll apply the equation of motion. We'll write down the equation of motion of rotor 3. So this is J3 theta 3 double dot is equal to, this will be minus KT2 in bracket theta 3 minus theta 2. So these are the equation of motions of this torsional system. Now here this theta I is nothing but theta I sin omega t, and theta I double dot, if you differentiate this equation 2 times with respect to t, then this becomes theta I double dot is equal to minus theta I omega square sin omega t. Okay. So now theta I is equal to theta I sin omega t, that means theta 1 is equal to theta 1 sin omega t, theta 2 is equal to theta 2 sin omega t, like this, and theta I double dot is equal to minus theta I omega square sin omega t. Now we'll put these values in equation, put these values in equation 1, 2 and 3. So this becomes, so theta 1 double dot की जगह रखना है minus theta 1 omega square sin omega t. So this equation 1 becomes, this is minus j1 theta 1 omega square sin omega t is equal to kt1 in bracket theta 2 sin omega t minus theta 1 sin omega t. Now if you take the sin omega t common over here, and that sin omega t will get cancelled with this sin omega t, so it will remain minus j1 theta 1 omega square is equal to kt1 theta 2 minus theta 1, and if you remove this negative sign, it will be this one. Okay, so this j1 theta 1 omega square is equal to minus kt1 theta 2 minus theta 1. Similarly, equation 2 becomes j2 theta 2 omega square is equal to kt1 theta 2 minus theta 1 minus kt2 theta 3 minus theta 2. So if you put the values of theta 2 double dot and theta 2 in equation number 2, then this will become something like this. Okay, so this is say equation number 4, this is equation number 5, and similarly the equation number 3 becomes j3 theta 3 omega square is equal to kt2 theta 3 minus theta 2. Okay, so this is equation number 6. Now we will apply the Holzer method, and Holzer method says that summation of I equal to, here I equal to 1 to n, so n here value of n is 3. This is a 3 degree of freedom system, so n equal to 3. Ji theta I omega square is equal to 0. So this is the Holzer method, and if you add equation 4, equation 5 and equation 6, so equation 4 plus 5 plus 6, then this is J1 theta 1 omega square plus J2 theta 2 omega square plus J3 theta 3 omega square. That means the sum of I equal to 1 to 3 J1 theta 1 omega square is equal to. So if you add the right hand side also, so minus kt1 theta 2 minus theta 1, this will get cancelled with plus kt theta 2 minus theta 1, and this kt2 theta 3 minus theta 1 will get cancelled with minus kt2 theta 3 minus theta 1. So here it will get 0. Okay. So this is the Holzer method. Okay. So this is the Holzer method. This is the formula on which this Holzer method works. So it says that summation of sum of inertia torques equal to 0. So this is the principle on which this Holzer method works. Now we'll see the assumptions. Now here in this equation, if you know the values of J1 and theta 1, then you can find out the natural frequency. Okay. So now we will see some of the assumptions, because Holzer method consists of a lot of assumptions. So assumptions. Assumptions in Holzer method. Assumptions in Holzer method. So first assumption. First assumption is initial or the first natural frequency is 0. First natural frequency is equal to 0. Second assumption is that angular displacement of first rotor is equal to 1. Okay, so these are the two things that we need to assume in this Holzer method. So first natural frequency is 0 and angular displacement of the first rotor is 1 unit. Okay, so we know that theta 1 is equal to 1, so no issue with the theta 1. Now what is theta 2? So theta 2 can be found out from this equation. So the equation 4, if you see equation 4, then it says J1 theta 1 omega square is equal to minus kt theta 2 minus theta 1. Okay, so here if you find theta 2 here, so J1 theta 1 omega square is equal to minus kt theta 2 plus kt theta 1. So here theta 2, if you see, theta 2 is equal to, this theta will go, so this will go in, so this is kt theta 1 minus J1 omega square into theta 1 divided by kt. So we can say that this kt will get cancelled. So here theta 1 remains, and here kt remains. So theta 2 can be written as theta 1 minus j1 omega square upon kt 1 into theta 1. So this is theta 2. And similarly, if you put the value of theta 2 in equation number 6, then this theta 3 so theta 1 is 1, theta 2 we have derived as theta 1 minus j1 omega square kt1 into theta 1, and if you derive theta 3, then this becomes theta 2 minus j2 omega square upon kt2 so this is j1 theta 1 plus j2 theta 2. Okay, so theta 1, theta 2 and theta 3, and if you see, we can write down in generalized form that theta I is equal to theta I minus 1 minus omega square upon kt I minus 1 summation of k equal to 1 to I minus 1 j k theta k. So this is the formula of finding the angular displacement in case of this Holzer method. And another thing in the Holzer method is that if you plot the remaining torque into omega, then so this is omega n1, this is omega n, this is omega n2, and this is omega n3. Okay, so this omega n1, so the first assumption is that the first natural frequency is 0, so omega n1 is 0. Omega n2 and omega n3, these will have the two values. So this is a 3-rotor system, that means there are 3 natural frequencies, but if you apply the Holzer method, then the assumption is that the first natural frequency will always be 0 in case of the Holzer method, whereas omega 2, omega n2 and omega n3 will have some values. So this is the theory behind the torsional system. Okay, so in next lecture we will see an example on this Holzer method. Thank you.